What would be fun today is talking about how our faith collides with our work. Those
Mhm.
opportunities where who you are as a believer, who you are as a follower of Christ, how do you carry that into the workplace?
But I spent really about 25 years of my career from that time that I worked with Pastor Sampson
Hmm.
at Lucky Stores all the way up until to the work that I do now as an HR professional. So that
Hmm.
was an HR generalist in big box retail spaces,
Yeah,
quick food service restaurants, K through 12 education, nonprofit spaces. Given that, I have had the privilege in the work that I do to really be in a clear through line of marketplace ministry.
mm,
So we talked about that faith-based capacity and serving in a ministry capacity
hmm,
where you're speaking life to people, where
yeah.
you're edifying people, where you're drawing out the
That's
best in
good.
them,
That's good.
where you are helping them navigate,
Hmm.
through situations. I've had the privilege just by virtue of the work that I do.
In my line of work, sometimes the best project manager means mishandling people for the sake of meeting your goal, saving money, saving on time, whatever, whatever, whatever. And I would do the inverse of that. Yes, I want the project to be successful, but I'm not willing to act out of character to
Mhm.
get a successful project.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how it started. And then over time, as I got into leadership roles, then I got opened up the opportunity where I was, being tasked with mentoring people, and I would try and do it in a very personalized manner, and I've mentioned this in some of the other episodes, creating a safe place for people to ask questions without the fear of
Mhm.
being judged,
Sure.
without the fear of being labeled or, castigated, etc. And trying to give each person the support they need so they can do their best work.
Welcome to With Love, The Chambers.
Where life, laughter, and lasting lessons meet.
We're The Chambers, a husband and wife navigating faith, family, and everything in between.
Here we share real stories, heartfelt conversations, and a whole lot of love. Because life isn't perfect, but God's grace sure is.
So pull up a seat, grab a cup of coffee, or go ahead and sip that tea, and join us for honest talks, laughs, and the wisdom we're learning along the way. This is With Love, The Chambers.
This episode of With Love, The Chambers is proudly sponsored by the Watts of Power Foundation, where passion and purpose come together to empower the next generation. In the heart of Los Angeles, one foundation is changing the future of education. The Watts of Power Foundation, founded by Dr. Peter Watts Jr., is on a mission to raise up the next generation of Black male educators, building strong teachers, strong families, and strong communities. Through mentorship, housing, and holistic support, Watts of Power is lighting the path toward equity in education. Visit wattsofpowerfoundation.org to learn how you can help power the change. The Watts of Power Foundation, where teaching meets transformation. A big thank you to Watts of Power for supporting this episode of With Love, The Chambers. And now, back to your regularly scheduled show.
Welcome back to another episode of With Love, The Chambers. My name is Rufus Chambers, and I'm here with my lovely wife, Jamila. And we would just like to welcome you to another very, very special episode of With Love, The Chambers. Just want to start off by saying thank you for your continued
Yes.
partnership and viewership and listenership. Through your help and through your partnership, we are reaching people all over the place.
Yes.
Our data team is giving us the metrics, and we are just amazed at the support that we are getting. And we know that is through your continued support. So we just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. We do invite you to hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Help us get the word out that there is another episode of With Love, The Chambers. And we think today's episode is going to be something fun, something that's going to add
Yes.
value to your life. And with that, just want to greet you, Jamila. Just want to check in, do a little temperature check. How are you
Oh,
doing?
well, I feel properly greeted.
All
Thank you so
right. Right
much.
on, right on, right on. Properly acknowledged. Have
Properly
you been
acknowledged.
acknowledged up in here?
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right. All
Properly
right.
acknowledged because it's always a great day when we can come together and do this podcast. It's so wonderful to welcome our audience. It's so wonderful to sit here with you. And I just want to reiterate just my thanks and gratitude to our listeners. There have been some folks that have been on the ride with us from the beginning.
That's right.
We have the Hill family in the Bay Area that
Yeah,
don't miss an
yeah.
episode. So we
Come
had the
on
benefit
now.
of having lunch with them recently
Yeah.
and them sharing some words of
Yes.
edification with us. And so it's just been wonderful
It has.
to have these conversations, number one with you, Rufus, but then to have the camera rolling, the mic
Yeah.
on, and bring really our extended community with us. And that extended community has grown literally to around the world. And
Absolutely.
so thank you so much for your support and just making this effort so worthwhile. It's just been amazing and so great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, let's get into today's conversation.
Okay, we shall.
I feel like a number of episodes ago, we did an episode that was just talking about the workplace.
Yes.
And I feel like we haven't revisited the workplace in quite some
Which is so
time.
odd considering
Yeah,
our backgrounds.
exactly. So I thought what would be fun today is talking about how our faith collides with our work, those
Mhm.
opportunities where who you are as a believer, who you are as a follower of Christ, how do you carry that into the workplace? And I
Yes.
know, Jamila, your career has been amazing. You've worked for a number of Fortune 500 companies in the human resources space. You've done
Mhm.
life coaching. You've done consultancy. You've done media. You now are in higher education
Mhm.
and you've done ministry. So I've seen you traverse in different markets and different niches, and you always carry yourself right
Mhm.
into whatever genre that you are in. And I've also over the years seen you grow, in your faith,
Mhm.
grow in the word and, the anointing on your life, just increasing. So, just kind of want to open the conversation up. When you think about what you do Monday through Friday, and the listeners may not know, so you can get kind of share about that. But what you do Monday through Friday in your 9 to 5, your 8 to
Mhm.
5, or however many hours you actually work, how does your faith show up in your vocation?
It's so interesting. As we were talking about having this conversation, I share with you that I'm glad that we're doing it
Mm-hmm.
because one of my mentors, very early on in my career, I found out had recently passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular mentor, Pastor Kenneth Sampson,
Mm-hmm.
worked with me at Lucky Stores when I was
Right.
starting off my career in HR and was very instrumental in really me dedicating my life to Christ for the first time as an adult with like the full knowledge of what that
Mm-hmm.
decision was. And interestingly enough, I was talking about him and the contribution and that impact because he was the one of the first people that I saw that said there is not going to be the distinction between what I do versus who I am.
That's good. That's good.
And even though in our vocational capacity, when we were at work, I called him Kenny because that was his, name at work. But he was always Pastor Sampson at the heart and
Mm-hmm.
at the root of it.
Yeah.
And so, as I'm thinking about having that conversation, I'm really thinking about him
That's good.
and his family and his congregation in the San Francisco Bay Area, and all of those people that can attest to that
Yeah.
portion of his legacy. There was no separation. And so in my career, you mentioned me being in higher ed right now, but I spent about 25 years or so of my career. I know I make it look good, y'all.
Ha! Clock it. Is that what the girls say? Clock it.
Wait, is it this finger? Is it
Yeah.
whatever finger it
Yeah,
is?
whichever one.
Whichever one. But I spent really about 25 years of my career from that time that I worked with Pastor Sampson
Mhm.
at Lucky Stores all the way up until to the work that I do now as an HR professional. So that
Mhm.
was an HR generalist in big box retail spaces,
Yeah.
quick food service restaurants, K through 12 education, nonprofit spaces, sales, did some consulting work in that space and
Mhm.
did that for a number of years, multi-state, multi-unit places,
Mhm.
unionized environments, and so did that work for a long time.
Yeah.
And now what I've had the privilege of doing for now almost the last 8 years, I told you I'll make it look good. Come back, Rufus. Not you laughing with me for the first time, and then the second time you not with me. Somebody come get here.
Why don't you come back? That's I think.
Nope, because I'm already gone, like
Yeah,
Kato said.
yeah.
I'm
I
already
think
gone.
maybe you come back.
I'm already gone. I'm already
You
gone.
come back.
Hey, listen, you can't have it both ways. Yeah, I'm already
It's
gone.
their pleasure to meet you. I do know.
Your pleasure to hear from me this
I
afternoon.
know. I know.
Exactly.
But
So anyway,
yeah.
so for the last okay, I'll bring it back. So for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been in higher ed, and I call that a reverse engineer of my HR life.
Mhm.
That I spent 25 years or so identifying talent for
Mhm.
companies and corporations, and now I talk to students about
Yeah.
becoming that talent and not only establishing their careers, but growing their careers, being responsible for their own succession
Mhm.
planning and maintaining that curiosity about their gifts and talents and all those things. So that's what I have done for the last 8 years, leading a team at
Yeah.
a small liberal arts college out here in Los Angeles. And so, given that I have had the privilege in the work that I do to really be in a clear through line of marketplace ministry.
Mm.
So we talked about that faith-based capacity and serving in a ministry capacity
Mhm.
where you're speaking life to people, where
Yeah.
you're edifying people, where you're drawing out the
That's
best in
good.
them,
That's
where
good.
you are helping them navigate,
Mhm.
through situations. I've had the privilege just by virtue of the work that I do, whether I'm talking to someone about a difficult workplace situation or talking to them about their ability to go after that next career opportunity
Mhm.
or how they discern. I literally use that word career discernment, how they
That's
discern
good. That's good.
what it is that they want to be able to do. So because of the work that I
Yeah.
do and the work that I have done for a number
Yeah.
of years, it really has been this through line and this through connection. And so like Pastor Sampson mirrored for me very
Mhm.
early in my career. I've had that benefit of privilege of bringing my full self that
That's
as I
good.
matured in my faith, as I
Mhm.
matured in ministry, didn't have to give you chapter and verse, but I'm gonna use those same words in that
Yeah.
conference room. I'm gonna use the same words
That's
in
good.
that meeting. I'm gonna edify you in the same way. So it's had that clear line and that clear throughput, and that has been really confirmation for me
Mhm.
along this journey that this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. So it doesn't matter to me where,
Mhm.
the what stays the same.
Yeah. That's
So
good.
so that has been a big part of it. But you, on the other hand,
Mhm.
do work that's completely different
This is true.
vocationally
Yeah.
and a completely different culture in that
Yeah.
construction project management space.
Yeah.
And so, for those that might have work like your vocational
Mhm.
career path, your secular career path, rather, that have that type of work that it might not be such a clear throughput and such a clear line, in what ways does your faith show up in the marketplace? And in what ways do you bring that component of your life into spaces? And I don't know if y'all been on construction sites lately, but that's not typically,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, a space that aligns up with
That's
ministry
true.
and having faith-based conversations necessarily. So
Yeah.
how does that show up for you?
Yeah, that's been a process, because I think in my career being in the construction project management space, I have changed a lot over the years. And you know
Yes.
that, when I started off,
Back in the
there
Willie
was no
Turner
Christ.
days.
Yeah, there was no Christ being glorified, with what I was doing and how I was doing it. So that was a process. So over time, as I matured in my faith and matured in my walk, then I would try and find opportunities for my humanity and my character, that I was trying to emulate per scripture, to just show up in
Yes.
in projects, show up in how I'm handling clients, or how I'm handling stakeholders, or how I'm handling contractors, and how I'm handling architects, because I think, to your point, a lot of times that's not the expectation or what the norm is. So then over time, I would hear other people, they're like, man, he's just easy to he's
Mhm.
easy to work with. Man, he has good character. You know what I mean? He treats people fairly. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And as I was, growing in my walk with the Lord, I was trying to be intentional because I wanted my witness to be Christ-like, more so than being the best project manager.
Sure.
Because in my line of work, sometimes the best project manager means mishandling people for the sake of meeting your goal, saving money, saving on time, whatever, whatever, whatever. And I would do the inverse of that. Yes, I want the project to be successful, but I'm not willing to act out of character to
Mhm.
get a successful project.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how it started. And then over time, as I got into leadership roles, then I, got opened up the opportunity where I was, being tasked with mentoring people, and I would try and do it in a very personalized manner, creating and I've mentioned this in some of the other episodes, creating a safe place for people to ask questions without the fear
Mhm.
of being judged,
Sure.
without the fear of being labeled or, castigated, etc. And trying to give each person the support they need so they can do their best work. Not only so that they can do their best work, but so that they can take center stage. And I attribute that to my faith of having a desire to care for people,
Mhm.
in a professional setting, in a project management setting, So I think that's kind of, but it was a process. It
Sure.
would morph. Sometimes it would create pain for me. It would create struggle. It would create consternation. Um, but it was a joy, because I think the beautiful part for me is I found that my faith was not only for ministry. My
Mm.
faith was not only for the local church. My faith could be expressed in dark places,
Mhm.
at times. And even now, you know what I mean, with everything that's happening in culture, um, being a human,
Mhm.
at job sites where, we know some law enforcement agencies are trying to forcefully detain and
Mhm.
deport some people that may be working at a job site. So how
Mhm.
I show up, um, the level of empathy, just the level of decency that I try and bring, I think that can matter.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Out here
Mhm.
in these streets, you know what I mean? Um, and for you, Jamila, it's I'm thinking specifically about higher ed, and
Mhm.
I want you to kind of unpack this thing because, when I think about your career trajectory, I think about, the dream releaser life coach, that
Mhm.
was activated in you through the
Sure.
Dr. Sam Chan Dream Releaser Life Coaching platform and certification. Now you have the opportunity to overlay that with young adults in a
Mhm.
controlled environment,
Mhm.
where your brand, your gift, your skill can be directly applicable in a controlled environment where young adults are the primary customer. Tell
Mhm.
us about that, because that just feels like that is just God orchestrating this thing down to the T. What does that feel like? You know.
It is. It's so it's interesting. and I'm trying to contain how to
Mhm.
answer
Yeah.
that question because there's so many different facets and components to it. And the biggest thing I would say, and I've said it multiple times on this platform, that no experience is ever wasted.
That's true.
Um, when I think of your career and even our older daughter's life aspirations, I was never one of those people that just knew what I wanted to
Mm.
do.
Okay.
And so there are some people that are very clear. I want to be a
Mhm.
doctor. I talk about you all the time. You were 17 years old filling out college applications like
Mhm.
our youngest daughter is doing right now and said, I want to go and I want to study engineering, you
Mhm.
know, and that is the profession that you were doing
Yeah.
right now today. And you kind of had that thing in your knower, even as a teenager, that that was,
Mhm.
a place that you could excel and where you wanted to contribute and grow. And my career path really wasn't that way. It was all about relationship and exposure.
Mm.
It really was. It
Yeah.
was this person speaking life into me.
Mhm.
I never will forget. I was working at. I keep mentioning my lucky stores days. That must just be on my heart today. But I started off working there in 1992 as a
Mm.
high school senior at the Lucky Store on Crenshaw and 39th. Dave
Mm.
Copeland
Mm.
was the general manager
Come on.
of that store, and Dave said to me at that time, "I see the leadership in you. I want you to go from being a clerk checking groceries to
Mhm.
stocking the gum and candy
Come on.
on
Elevation.
elevation." And if you could imagine, we got self checkout now, so y'all probably not checking for it the way I was, but it was about 14 check stands across that front of the store, and my whole job was to make sure all those 14 check stands were filled with gum and candy at all times. Like
Come
that
on.
was my entire job for the store. And I ended up having a 13-year career
Mm.
in the grocery business, 6 years in the store, 7 years on the corporate side, because someone,
Yeah.
Dave Copeland,
Yeah.
said, you can do
The
more.
butler.
You can continue to
Mhm.
grow. You use the term the butler. I'm gonna pause myself. Tell the
Mhm.
people what the butler is, because we always love to use our terms, and you and I have a
The
language we speak.
butler.
Tell the people who they need to have. They need to have a butler. They need to have a baker. Come on, tell the people who the butler and the baker
Well,
are.
you challenging my memory, but from
That's
what I recall,
that's
that
okay. I'll
was
fill it
that
in
was
if you.
that was, a sermon that Bishop Bob Hawkson ministered. Bishop Bob Hawkson of Jubilee Ministry out of Ghana,
Yes.
West Africa. He
Yes.
used to come to the Bay Area and preach, at the church, that we were a part of, where our bishop is still pastoring there.
Yes.
And he preached a sermon,
Mhm.
and he was preaching, and I believe telling the story of Joseph,
Mhm.
of how along the journey of Joseph, different people were door openers for him
Yes.
to get him into his divine assignment.
Yes.
And one of those was a butler. So when we say
Yes.
butler, wink, wink, that's what we're
That's
talking
what we
about.
did. And we also talk about the baker, the one that makes the provision available.
That's right. That's right.
And so to keep with that analogy, Dave Copeland was a butler
That's right.
for me, and someone that was a butler in my life and opened a door to
Absolutely.
really an industry,
Mhm.
opened a door to that conversation around your hard work will
Yeah.
result in,
Yeah.
promotion and increase. I was set apart from my peers for the first time
Mhm.
under Dave's leadership. And it was, now, what do you do when you're set apart from your peers and you have to stand on your own and
Yeah.
you have to come from amongst
Mm.
your peers?
That's
And
leadership training
so
right there.
all of that
That's a
started
master class.
really and started with Dave Copeland. And I, like I said, had progressive uh, um, promotions over the course of that 13-year
Yeah.
career. And Dave and I only worked together a short period of time while I was in Los Angeles, and I continued to work for that company, multiple locations, and for many
Yeah.
years afterwards. And so that was great. But it was relationship and exposure.
Mm.
And then when I ended up in the corporate space and developed my social network and people that I was engaged with in different capacities, I got exposed to different industries, and
Yeah.
every job or every career or every opportunity that I had was all about relationship and exposure. I'm in higher ed right now because I
Mhm.
visited my good friend, Dr. Demetha Lachey Bradley,
Come
who
on.
was Dean of Students at McAllister
Mhm.
College in Minnesota. And I went to visit her and said, "This is great. This higher ed life is cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where can I get a job like this in
Yeah.
LA?" She said, "Go to Occidental."
Mm.
That's the closest college,
Mhm.
liberal arts college to McAllister. That's a
Mhm.
sister type of location. And so then I opened up my mind and heart to higher
Yeah.
ed
Yeah.
for the first time because of exposure
Mhm.
and relationship. And so what makes it difficult, and like you were asking me about the students and how that faith and
Yeah.
ministry and marketplace kind of interacts. What's so challenging, and we've talked about it on this podcast multiple times before, is that, we have students now that are Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and
Mhm.
their desire to work,
Mm.
their framework around and
Mhm.
paradigm around
Yeah.
work is just totally
It is.
different.
It is.
We've talked several times about that apprenticeship model
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how it took a Dave Copeland to activate
Yeah.
something in me that I didn't know that I had. And most of the time, our students now figure, "Hey, I'm graduating from school.
Yeah.
I've gone to YouTube University. I put my 5 months in a job. Aren't I ready to
Mhm.
get promoted?" So having and developing that depth and breadth of
Yeah.
experience just looks totally different now. Um, but with all that being said, to be able to pull all of these gifts together really for the first time,
Mm.
I feel like up until now in my career, things were more compartmentalized.
Yes. Yes.
That my ministry life was here and my marketplace life
Mhm.
was here, and there
Yeah.
might be glimpses
Yeah.
of both within each. This is the first time that my life has converged
Mm.
in a
Mm.
way that it has. So Monday through Sunday, I am the same person doing the same thing,
Mm.
whether I do it in a vocational capacity or a ministry capacity. And that really has been within the last 5
Mm.
years for the first time
Yeah.
in my life. So what I would say, even learning that experience, is that sometimes that faith and marketplace will be compartmentalized, and that
Mhm.
was fine for a season. And if you have the good benefit of it being converged,
Yeah.
that's a good thing as well. God has need and uses it all.
That's right.
I do want to take a breath and throw it back to you, though, because you have had a posture towards ministry for a number of years.
Mhm.
Ministry occurred in the four walls of a church and
Yeah.
in a more of a traditional capacity in that way.
Mhm.
You are now working with some young men at a
Mhm.
middle school
Yeah.
every single Friday
Yeah. Mhm.
in a mentoring capacity
Mhm.
in a non-faith presenting
That's
capacity,
true.
yet bringing yourself there.
Yeah.
So having uh, really taken that deep dive of that convergence that I was talking about, because you are now in the space that I'm talking about, where it don't present as ministry, but I'm still showing up as me.
Yeah.
How has that been for you, with this being your first semester in that capacity working with these young men?
It's very fresh.
A little too soon to tell. Did I say
Yeah.
they were in middle school?
Yeah. So
Beyond the fact that they're middle school boys, yeah.
it's a little fresh right now, but every time I go to that school, I know that, you know, I can add value, to these young men's lives. I feel like, every time I prepare, my lesson plan or my agenda, I'm just sitting there like, being confirmed in turn, like, you got this. You
Yes.
know what I mean? You know how to talk about these items. You know how to teach about these
Yes.
so I feel good in that sense. You know what I mean? And I realize that that little sacrifice of time, it may mean something to somebody, but I
Yes.
may not see what it means ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I may plant a seed today and then 10 years down the road it could blossom and germinate
Sure.
and somebody may not call and say thank you, and that's okay. But it's definitely it's fresh, and being there for the last, month or so, it validates the need.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Of what these
100%.
educators are up against, the task that is in front of them is nothing to sneeze at, because every time I go there, I think about what I'm experiencing as a teacher, as a mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing a cross comparison with the narratives that are out there about
Mm.
young boys of color. You know what I mean? So when I'm in the classroom with 15 boys, I'm trying to do my thing and I'm
Sure.
witnessing how they're behaving and what they're saying and what they're doing. But then I'm also thinking about the world that they're up against
Sure.
or the world that they're preparing to enter, and that world is not always forgiving. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So there is, a sense of confirmation that the work is needed, and even being in that environment, where you got 55 minutes with a kid once a week, I also think about ministry is like, wow, our youth ministry workers are
Yes.
kind of in a similar
Sure.
situation where they're trying to make impact on a child or a young person's life in a very compressed amount of time. What
Yes.
is a realistic expectation, and how should the programming be reflective of that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a learning opportunity. Yes, I mean, you know me, I've been mentoring boys and men for a number of
Sure.
years, but this is different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
This is different. You know what I mean? All that stuff that I've done, it was somewhat preparation, but this is
Mm-hmm.
different. So I also am humbled by it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Very humbled by, wow. It's like, nah, dude, everything you know and all the experience you have, it's not just going to automatically hit the target,
Mm-hmm.
of these young boys, young men, their soul, their psyche, their hearts. You know what I mean? It takes time. And,
Mm-hmm.
one of my close friends who's been doing this work for years,
Yes.
he encouraged me, Rufus, it just takes time to build relationship.
Mm-hmm.
He said this first year, you may solely be building
Yep.
relationships, but you build the relationships and then you'll be able to deliver more so on what, is on your heart to deliver, but you just got to
Mm-hmm.
be consistent. So, but, it confirms a need. It
Mm-hmm.
confirms a need. And I think sometimes in church spaces, and we talked about this on Sunday, we're in the Bay Area, sometimes in church spaces, we can get lost on this island of
Mm.
our local congregation with our
Mhm.
people, but lose touch with the reality of the
Mhm.
community, of the society, of the institutions that need us to engage with them, to
Mhm.
just serve them, you know. So that's another thing that this is helping to say, okay,
Mhm.
you know, amazing what you've done and
Sure.
those controlled environments,
Sure.
but here we are. Here you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah. So
And also too, we say this often, sometimes you may be the only Jesus that
yes,
someone may
yes.
see,
The only scripture
the only
that
scripture
they'll ever
that
see.
they'll ever see.
Hmm.
And so if we are not physically in those spaces
Yes.
to show up in
Yes.
that
Yes.
capacity, the thought that they're going to
Hmm.
walk through the doors of the
Yeah.
church because the doors of the church are open, you know, that may happen, that may not happen.
Yes. Yes.
And you've heard me
Yes.
say this to you over a number of years, and
Hmm.
I want to say it again in the hearing of our podcast
Hmm.
viewers and listeners. But one of the most difficult things to do about bringing ministry to the marketplace is that you don't always have that sense of gratification of seeing the
Correct.
fruit of your labor from
Correct.
beginning to end.
Correct.
And one of the things that I have shared with you so much so over the years is that I have loved with your construction project management life that you can work on a construction project, whether it be a 2-year project, a
Mhm.
3-year project. And that was one of our rituals at the end of a project. We'll walk it before you turn it
Yeah.
over to the client and that sort of thing. That I can see that I put my heart and my hands
Mhm.
and my labor and my love and my time and my effort and my talent into something.
Yeah.
And to this day, we can drive by it on the freeway.
That's true.
We can pull up in
That's
the parking
true.
lot of
That's
it.
true.
We can walk in the basement of the Hearst Memorial Mining
Mm.
Building
Have mercy.
and,
Yeah.
say, I worked here.
That's
I
right.
had a part in this. You can take your kids there. You
Mhm.
pulled out pictures and posted some pictures, I believe, on LinkedIn within the last year or
Mhm.
so of you first year, out of college and,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
in those spaces. And they're physically places that you can walk in.
Mhm.
But when you are in a ministry capacity,
Mm.
or even when you do the work that I've done for a number of years in human resources and
Mm.
even in career services and career development,
Yeah.
you see people for a snippet and a portion of your life, and you have no idea if that time,
Yeah.
effort, talent, attention has paid their career dividends at
Mhm.
all. And just like Jesus healed the 10 and only one came back
Yeah.
and said thank you. That's what it's like in ministry. And I know you've definitely
Mhm.
experienced that, but certainly like in this work that I do and work that you're now doing as an educator,
Yeah.
this capacity with these young men, they might not all come back
That's right.
and say thank you, but for the one out
Come
of
on.
10
Come
that
on.
does,
Bible.
that gives you
Yeah.
it's as if all 10 of them
Yeah,
did.
that's right.
So
That's right.
literally, if I had to look at 365 calendar days, I might
Yeah.
have 3 people
Yeah, that'll
over the
spin the
course
block.
that
Yeah.
will spin the block, or that will there will be something that happens once a quarter, 3 or 4 times a year,
Yeah.
where I'll say, "This is why I'm here."
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
someone's light bulb turning
Yeah.
on, someone going from 0 to 10, or
Mhm.
getting an opportunity, or being able to step in a place they weren't before, and I'll say, "This is why I'm
Yeah.
doing it."
Absolutely.
Because some of that gratification that, again, I've loved, admired, and been quite frankly jealous of as a
Mhm.
part of your construction project management life, like,
Yeah.
I worked on that and I can go sit in it. That doesn't happen
Yeah.
on that side. So I wanted to encourage,
Yeah.
um, the listeners and the
Come on.
viewers that when you choose to do
Mhm.
that type of work, and it really isn't a choice, right? Because we're just walking around our everyday selves, whether you're Pastor Kenneth Sampson and you're
Yeah.
just encouraging that young girl to be
Yeah.
confident
Come on.
in that
Come
room
on.
where she's the first and the only,
Sowing that seed.
and all that, whether that's sowing that seed. He had no idea, right?
Yeah.
Back in 1999,
Mhm.
early 2000s, what that
Yeah.
would bear fruit and the ways in which that would bear fruit all these years later. And I'm so glad that he's in that great bandstand of witnesses right now,
Yeah. Come
who
on.
continuing
Absolutely.
to encourage me and so many others that he touched along the
Absolutely.
journey.
Absolutely.
And so as we find a place to land
Yeah.
the plane and find a place to
Closing
close,
thought. Closing thought.
what is your closing
Oh,
thought?
I was trying to pivot.
Well,
I was trying
listen,
to pivot.
I just
I was
gave,
gonna say I got endless thoughts, y'all. I'm good.
I just really just kind of dropped a little
Yeah,
nugget
yeah,
on the
yeah,
people. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah.
saying.
You did. You did. You did.
But I want to let you
Jump
have
on.
the last word, in terms of this convergence and
Yeah.
this discussion around how do
Yeah.
I show up as my full
Yeah.
self?
Yeah. I feel like my final thought is this is to encourage the listeners and viewers to number one, acknowledge the value that they have within themselves in
Yes.
their given profession. I think sometimes people can minimize what they do.
Mhm.
and almost take themselves out of the equation of being able to make impact to the
Mhm.
glory of God based on their profession. And I believe that regardless of what your profession is, regardless of what your income is, you should carry your faith into your vocation,
Mhm.
into your profession, and expect to add value.
Mhm.
Expect to be able to touch a person's life or improve an organization in some tangible way. And, we don't do it for validation, but us acknowledging that value, that I think that will change how we face our day.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is like not looking at your calendar as the good old OJs. I'm living for the weekend. It's like, no,
Sure.
I can actually live Monday through Friday
Mhm.
because what I'm doing, it matters
Mhm.
and God can be glorified in it.
Mhm.
So I think yeah, that's really my final thought. You know what I mean? To do a second look at what we do and how we do it, and patting ourselves on the back to say, no, what you do matters.
Mhm.
What you do, it makes a difference. And the other thing, and we'll land a plane here, but sometimes organizations, they capitalize on us not knowing our value. If we
That's where
devalue,
you wanted to land the plane. That's a whole
yes,
nother
I know,
podcast.
I know. Praise the Lord. I'm
Right,
gonna
for
be messy.
facts.
If we devalue ourselves, it improves their bottom line. Okay. So part of and but and we're not gonna get into profit and loss statements, but that's some of the psychology that happens in workplaces to help benefit their bottom line,
Mhm.
but that affects our mental and emotional and sometimes
Mhm.
spiritual wholeness and wellness to say,
Yes.
just because I'm not being quote unquote valued in my paycheck or valued in my
Mhm.
title or placement on the organizational chart doesn't mean that what I do doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So I think, viewers and listeners, regardless of what is being said of you by
Yes.
said organization or
Yes.
said paycheck, know that you still make a difference.
Mhm.
So I'll drop the mic there. Praise the Lord.
That's and as Savant was said, you broke it down so it
Yeah,
can forever be
there
broke.
we go. There we go.
You
There
know
we
we love
go.
a good Love Jones
Yeah, yeah,
reference
yeah,
around
yeah.
here.
Help them out now. They don't
And
know
they can go back
somebody.
and listen to our Love
Yeah,
Jones
yeah. There's
episode if they
episodes
missed
of
it.
Love Jones.
Yes, they can go back and listen to it. Well, thank you so much, Rufus, for that and for really bringing up this topic because this in particular,
Yeah,
as you have been bivocational in the marketplace and
yeah,
ministry for a number of
yeah.
years.
20 plus years.
Yeah, 20 plus years for sure. And then also walk with so many people
Hmm.
that struggle with this conversation. This was an important one to have
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Yes.
with that, we are going to say thank you
Yes.
once again. We just want to once again express our appreciation. We realize if you've made it to this point in the episode, you matter. We know some
Yes.
people they tune off after 3 minutes
Just
or
after the
three
clips.
and a half minutes. But if you hung out for this entire
Yes.
episode, thank you. Once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, drop us a comment, send us a DM. We want to be in relationship with you. If you haven't already joined our private Facebook group, we would love
Yes.
to welcome you into that community. There's some information out there so that you can join that group and send us your ideas, send us your thoughts on the topics that you want us to tackle,
Yes.
some guests that you may want us to interview.
Ah.
We're going to work with our banker and our financial team to see how we can create some in person interviews for some of your
Yes.
favorite guests. But once again, we're going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to sign off and we'll see you again real
Yes.
soon. God
Thank you.
bless.
This episode of With Love, the Chambers is proudly sponsored by the Watts of Power Foundation, where passion and purpose come together to empower the next generation. In the heart of Los Angeles, one foundation is changing the future of education. The Watts of Power Foundation, founded by Dr. Peter Watts Jr., is on a mission to raise up the next generation of Black male educators, building strong teachers, strong families, and strong communities. Through mentorship, housing, and holistic support, Watts of Power is lighting the path toward equity in education. Visit wattsofpowerfoundation.org to learn how you can help power the change. The Watts of Power Foundation, where teaching meets transformation. A big thank you to Watts of Power for supporting this episode of With Love, the Chambers.
That's a wrap for today's episode of With Love, the Chambers.
We hope you laughed, learned, and felt encouraged along the way.
If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs a little love and wisdom today.
You can also connect with us online on all social media platforms at Rufus Chambers Online and at Jamila Chambers. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time,
Keep living, keep laughing, and keep learning with love, the Chambers.